So what if the same math that shapes a galaxy also shapes your thoughts? What if that feeling of balance we're all chasing isn't just a feeling, but a measurable physical constant of the universe? Well, today we're diving into a framework that tries to connect all of that, Crippin's theory and the Atlas Codex. It proposes a literal geometry for our minds, our machines, and, yeah, even our planet.
The geometry of empathy is the final equation. That one line is pretty much the key to this whole thing. It suggests that our ability to connect with each other, to feel, to understand, isn't just some poetic idea. It's a process, and it's governed by geometric principles. So how can a feeling possibly have a shape? Let's get into it.
Okay, first up, a language of shapes. This is all about the idea of a geometry for our minds. The whole theory kicks off with a simple but really powerful question. What if our consciousness, our entire inner world, could be described using a basic language of shapes?
And let's be clear, this isn't about some vague symbolism you'd see in an art class. The proposal here is that four very specific geometric forms map directly onto our core psychological functions. The source material actually calls this a cognitive geometry, like a literal blueprint for how we think and feel. So let's take a look at what these shapes are. And here they are, the four fundamental building blocks. Each shape gets a core job. So you've got the triangle, which stands for clarity and decision-making, that sharp point of focus. Then there's the circle, which is all about connection and empathy, that feeling of wholeness. The square gives us stability and structure. It's our mental foundation. And finally, the spiral. That symbolizes growth and integration, the process of turning what we've been through into wisdom for the future. So, okay, we've got these shapes and they feel pretty intuitive, right? But this framework doesn't just stop at metaphor. This is where it gets really interesting. It argues that there's a mathematical engine running underneath all of this, an actual equation for balance. This is supposed to be the source code behind the symbols. And this is it, the heart of the entire framework, the Atlas T equation. Now, in this formula, T isn't just some random variable. It's defined as a universal constant of balance or harmony. And here's the really big claim. This constant is supposed to apply to any stable system, whether it's a single human mind or an entire planet. Now, an equation like this can look super intimidating, but it actually breaks down pretty simply. P is for proportion, that's just the physical shape and structure of things. Kappa, the little k there, stands for phase, which is all about timing, rhythm, and sequence. And R is for resonance, basically how well all the parts of a system are working together in harmony. So the big idea is this: balance equals structure times rhythm times harmony. Okay, an equation for balance. It's a fascinating idea, for sure. But what's the point? What can you actually do with it? Well, according to this framework, it's not just a cool philosophical concept. It has two very different and very ambitious applications, one for our own minds and one for the machines we build. Which brings us to how this one core idea gets applied into totally different realms, from our minds to our machines. This is where you really start to see the huge scope of the theory, as it tries to build a bridge between our own psychological well-being and a totally new form of computation. And this slide lays out that split perfectly. On the left side, you've got the Atlas system, which is for the mind. It's described as a neurosymbolic interface, which is a fancy way of saying it's a tool to help people map their inner world, using these shapes to turn, and I'm quoting here, pain into pattern. Now on the right, you've got the Quantum Lattice. This is a proposed design for a computer that doesn't use ones and zeros, but instead calculates things using those principles of phase and resonance we saw in the equation. It's a huge leap, right? From personal healing to advanced hardware. So if we focus on the human side for a second, the Atlas system is apparently built around these 12 distinct nodes, or areas of our consciousness. These include concepts we all get, like memory and vision, but also more abstract stuff like shadow, which is about exploring those hidden parts of ourselves. Now flip that and look at the machine side. The Quantum Lattice they propose scales up to 96 nodes, all arranged in a 12 by 8 grid. This is a system designed for pure computation, not self-reflection, but it's built on that very same foundational idea of harmonic balance. All right, and for our final section, we get to a universe in harmony. And trust me, this is the theory's most ambitious vision. We've gone from the mind to the machine, and now the framework takes one final massive leap, applying these same principles of geometry and balance to, well, the entire planet. So how exactly does that work? The core idea here is that the same laws of proportion, phase, and resonance that we've been talking about aren't just inside of us or in our computers. They are literally imprinted on the architecture of the Earth itself.
According to the source material, our planet is overlaid with this geometric structure. It maps out 12 global resonance zones that line up with the faces of a dodecahedron. That's a 12-sided shape. This whole thing supposedly creates a planetary grid. And here's the really wild part. It's suggested that many ancient sites, we're talking Göbekli Tepe, the Parthenon, were intentionally built on the intersection points, or the nodes, of this global harmonic field.
And after all of that cosmic planetary scale thinking, the whole thing comes right back to us. It puts the human form, represented here by Da Vinci's famous drawing, at the absolute center of this entire planetary field. The implication is that we aren't just passengers living on the system, we are the tuning mechanism for it. And that leaves us right here with this central question that this whole body of work is asking. Is all this talk about balance, harmony, and geometry, is it just a beautiful metaphor for how we experience the world? Or could it actually be, as this theory suggests, a fundamental, measurable constant that's woven into the very fabric of reality?